Selamat sore. Welcome to the latest news from Bali and Indonesia. This is July 13th, 2022, and my name is Bruce. And it is another beautiful and hot day in Singaraja here in Kampung Bugis, and I hope the weather is just as nice, not quite so hot for you, however. And it has been a crazy weekend. I had all sorts of people here for Eid al-Adha, and Zoe started 4th grade a couple of days ago, and so there's a lot of stuff going on with that. And I've gotten wrapped up in my wife's plan to build a house for our son, and so I've got to go and deal with all that tomorrow. And so I'm trying to pack all this stuff in now and get it out early on Wednesday, because it is just, Wednesday is just such a crazy day. So masks are back. Outdoor masks are back, yes, according to the president. And talk about that, a number of different stories on that. They all say the same thing though. And I'm gonna go over one more time just for people that miss this, about what the situation is in terms of coming into Indonesia, international travel and domestic travel, and the booster shot, because there's still a lot of false information out there. It's just amazing. And weirdness with Komodo. Okay, I've gone through 4 different stories today about Komodo. It's amazing, and they all say different things. So the latest one just came out a few minutes ago. Okay, so let's get on to the numbers. Okay, so let's get on to the numbers. I filmed everything except this section and the last section last night, yesterday afternoon, because I've been so busy. I just got back from looking at the house we're building for my son out in Pamaron. And well, it's going slowly, but it'll get there eventually. And in terms of the mask situation, almost everybody that we passed on the road driving was wearing a mask. Okay, so I don't know if the word from Jokowi got out or not, but it looks like masks are back. And well, what about the numbers? Big spike. Is this the spike that the government's been talking about? Let's take a look at it. National new cases, 3,361. Okay, we're well up over 3,000. This is a big jump for us. National recoveries, 1,780. National deaths, 8. Bali new cases, 125. And so we're up over 100 for the first time in a long time. So this is not good news. Bali recoveries 92 and Bali deaths 0. So maybe this is what the government was expecting and has been warning about. A surge in July, because here we are in July and these numbers are up, but this is just one day, so let's hope that they go down tomorrow. But this is something we're going to have to watch. So let's get on to Jokowi's change of mind and his announcement that wearing masks outdoors is now a must. Jakarta aligns with central government in face mask mandates amid case jump. Jakarta's deputy governor on Monday said that the provincial government is in support of the central government's decision to reinforce outdoor and indoor mask mandates, which were announced by President Jokowi on Sunday. He added that the city's public order agency, Satpol PP, will monitor people in the street. COVID-19 cases in Indonesia, including Jakarta, since the emergence of the Omicron BA4 and BA5 subvariants, saw a spike in the number of cases. President Jokowi called on people to wear their face mask again during his visit to central Jakarta on Sunday. He said, "I also want to remind all of us that COVID-19 still exists. Therefore, wearing a mask both indoors and outdoors is a must. Indoors and outdoors." And there's 2 sources for this story, and I'm just combining the 2 of them because they say basically the same thing. The president also said that he is reminding local government, city, district, and provincial, as well as the TNE and police, the military and police, to carry out booster vaccinations because this is really needed, he said. He asked the public to remain careful because of the fact that COVID-19 still exist. He said, especially the BA4 and BA5 variants in all countries. Thank God we are still in controllable numbers. There are other countries that still have 100,000 cases daily or more. That's what we have to watch out for, the president said. You may remember a happy day for me, May 17th, 2022, when President Jokowi said that you did not need to wear a mask outdoors anymore. And I was so happy because I'm so tired of wearing a mask. And it really is inconvenient and irritating. But I've been doing it for the last couple of years. Mask wearing is back again. Is that gonna work? I don't know. Is it gonna be enforced here in Bali? I don't know. I've been waiting to see some statement from the governor, and I haven't seen one yet. Kind of been waiting for it all day, and it's not here. And so, well, maybe on Friday there will be something by then, and we'll talk about it. But the president said you got to wear a mask outdoors, and so that's it. And task force reveals reasons for government again calling for mandatory masks. The COVID-19 handling task force, Satgas, appealed to the Indonesian people to again tighten the use of masks as a health protocol in preventing the transmission of coronavirus both in closed and open spaces. This was conveyed by the head of health handling of the COVID-19 handling task force, Alexander Ginting, in response to a similar appeal conveyed by the president on Sunday. Alex said that the government made the appeal because the positivity rate, the ratio of positive cases of COVID-19 in Indonesia has begun to increase. He said because active cases this week have reached more than 20,000, daily confirmations are above 2,000 cases, and the positivity rate has moved above 5%. And Alex said WHO has set a safe threshold for the positivity rate of 5%. Thus, he assessed that the development of COVID-19 in Indonesia was starting to enter the alert phase, which must again get attention from both the government and the public. Boo-hoo. Do not want to wear a mask. He also suspects that the high mobility of citizens coupled with lax health protocols is one of the reasons for the re-increasing number of coronavirus cases in Indonesia over recent weeks. The number of cases of citizens infected with the coronavirus in Indonesia has increased in the past week, 31% higher than the previous week. So when we look at the numbers, it doesn't seem like much. We're not into 4,000, 5,000, 10,000 like some other countries, but this small size, it is going up. Could it spike suddenly? Yes, the government's still saying that we may get a spike later this month. So back to masks. How long is this going to last? I don't know. And well, what is the governor going to say about this? I don't know. Are police and Satpol going to enforce this? I don't know either. We just have to wait and see. And let's go back and take one more look at the SEs, the circulars that came out that I talked about in the last video, and I was mentioning in the video before that. Let's look at it one more time because it is now out in the news. I was asked this the other day, when is it going to be released? I figured that they meant when is it going to be made public, like in public news sources. Well, it is in lots of public news sources now, and so let's just go over the main points again. Effective July 17, 2022, travelers with vaccine doses 1 and 2 mandatory antigen PCR test. The SE of the Ministry of Transportation refers to the SE of COVID-19 Handling Task Force number 21 and 22 regarding the provisions for travel for domestic and foreign people during the COVID-19 pandemic. According to the Ministry of Transportation spokesperson Adita Irawati in her statement on Sunday. For domestic travel, the Ministry of Transportation issued 4 SEs, SE number 68, Sea Transportation, SE number 70, Air Transport, SE number 72, Railway, and SE number 373, Land Transportation. Meanwhile, for overseas travel, the Ministry of Transportation issued 3 SEs, namely SE number 69, Sea Transportation, SE number 71, Air Transportation, and SE number 74, Land Transportation. And I talked about SE 21 and SE 22 on Saturday. I think I uploaded it Saturday, right? In general, what is regulated in the SC, namely domestic travel actors, PPDN, they're called, using air, sea, land transportation modes, using public or private vehicles, crossings, and intercity trains from and to regions throughout Indonesia. The following provisions apply. People receiving the third dose, the booster, not required to show a negative test of the PCR or rapid antigen. Domestic travelers receiving the second dose of vaccination only, not the booster, must show a negative rapid antigen test 1 times 24 hours before departure, or a negative PCR test 3 times 24 hours before departure. People will be able to do a third dose of vaccination upon departure. And somebody asked me a question, are foreigners going to be able to get this? I have no idea. If you have a KITAS and a KITAP, maybe, I guess so. I got a message on my Peduli Lindungi app, which actually works, saying I should come and get a booster shot. Okay, and so I'm going to deal with that soon. Domestic travelers receiving only the first dose of vaccination must show a negative result of PCR test 3 times 24 hours before departure. Domestic travelers with special health conditions or comorbidity diseases that prevent them from receiving vaccinations are excluded from vaccination provisions, but must show a negative PCR test taken 3 times 24 hours before departure and must attach a doctor's certificate from a home government hospital stating that the person concerned has not or is unable to take part in the COVID-19 vaccination. Domestic travelers aged 6 to 17 are required to show that they have 2 doses of the vaccine and they don't need to have a negative test. Domestic travelers under 6 are free. They're excluded from vaccination provisions and not required to show any test. Then the International SE had a list of all the airports that you can come into. If people want to see that, let me know. Otherwise, I'm not going to go through this list. I did a long time ago. Most people are coming in through Jakarta or Bali. Maybe Lombok, I don't know. Are people coming in internationally into Lombok yet? If they are, please leave a comment, particularly you, Peter. Okay, so that is for domestic travel and international travel. You come in, you have to be fully vaxxed. No booster needed. Any questions, leave a comment below and I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. And the crime bill. Oh, here's a story I forgot to mention in the introduction. This is a fascinating one. So I've talked about the crime bill and you know that there's provisions in there now. You can go to jail, you can be fined for shacking up before you get married. Well, and remember, this is a draft bill. It's going to be discussed. It's not liable to be voted on, passed until later in the year. This is an interesting one. Supernatural abilities spell jail time under criminal code bill. So the criminal code bill, final draft, oversees the act of offering services that are deemed criminal acts. One of the many sets of articles contained in the bill that stands out the most covers people who claim to have supernatural or psychic powers. The specific wording for the final draft is each and every person who proclaims to have supernatural abilities, who offers hope or provides services for other people, and because of this leads to diseases, death, or physical and mental suffering upon another person, faces up to 1 year and 6 months imprisonment and a maximum category 4 fine. The maximum category 4 fine, I think, is 200 million rupiah. This set of rules was mentioned in Article 252 of the 2019 bill, but with a more severe punishment of 3 years there. So you can practice magic and somebody gets sick or dies or goes through extreme duress. You're going to spend less time in jail if you get convicted. And the category 4 fine is indeed 200 million rupiahs. That's the maximum fine. And I mentioned surfers protesting. Surfers participate in rejecting the construction of an LNG terminal in Sanur. Right, this is very controversial. A banner measuring 4 by 4 meters that reads, "Against the construction of a liquefied natural gas, LNG, terminal in a mangrove area was stretched out in the middle of the sea right at the dredging project for ship routes on Saturday, this past Saturday. A spokesperson for the group explained that the banner stretching action was carried out as a form of protest against the plans to build the LNG terminal in the mangrove area, which will carry out dredging in the waters of Sanur, or the Abounds Strait, which will certainly have a negative impact on the waters and the coral reef in Sanur. He said, "So we must always protect the marine and coastal environment, one of which is from projects that damage the environment, such as the construction of an LNG terminal in the mangrove area." Good to see somebody is worried about the environment. What about Komodo? I've talked about Komodo before. Here, this has gotten so confusing. Okay, first we're going to start with this one. Komodo Island's entry fee at $3.75 million. Tourism Ministry explains the reasons. Tourists visiting Komodo Island in NTT, East Nusa Tenggara, will need to pay an entrance fee of $3.75 million per person starting August 1st. Not too long from now. The Tourism and Creative Economy Ministry explained the reasons behind the high price. This is not about the entry ticket, they said, but the comprehensive conservation of Komodo National Park. According to Carolyn Nogi, the coordinator for the National Parks Conservation Program, she said the fee includes compensation for conservation activities and a one-year ticket validity period. She said, "We limit to 200,000 visitors with compensation of $3.75 million per person. Why is it applied annually? Because our conservation efforts are also carried out 1 year. She said the limited number of visitors enforced along with the high entry fee is aimed at maintaining the survival of Komodo dragons in their natural habitat. According to Lukita Awang, head of the Komodo National Park Center, the number of tourist visits in 2013 increased dramatically to 63,000 compared to that in 2002 when there were only 11,000 people. The significant surge in the number of tourists, she said, causes a change in the behavior of the dragons. The Komodo dragons have become less alert, she said. They become closer to humans at tourist attractions. I still don't like to have those beasts anywhere near me. It's pretty exciting, but wow, you know, they could just take a chunk out of you. Additionally, Awang mentioned that the weight of the Komodo dragons in the park is heavier than it should be. She said, based on our data, the average weight is 100 kilos and it should be 80 in the natural habitat. And so on this basis, she said, they are going to stop feeding the dragons and develop new tourist destinations on the island. Okay, so that's one story. The ministry located in East Nusa Tenggara said the fee is on and it's going to happen. Now, you remember the last time I talked about this, Pak Sandiaga Uno said, no, nothing's been decided, it's all up, don't get upset, don't get in a fuss. Everything is still open. According to her, it's on. Then an article came out in Bali Discovery. Confusion abounds. Komodo admission price. While the Indonesian Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy, Pak Sandiaga Uno, insists the price hike is only under discussion, the head of the ministry's office in East Nusa Tenggara, Sony Libing, claims that the higher admission price is a formal decision just awaiting implementation. Sony said on July 8th that regards the ticket price of $3.75 million, this is already a done deal. Sony said that the cost of admission to the park remains under the authority of the central government. He said new rules on a $3.75 million admission fee and limitations on visitors only applies to two islands in the park, Padar Island and Komodo. He said the policy change was taken after an expert study identified a declining ecosystem on these two islands. Okay, so there's two articles. Now, here comes number 3. Labuan Bajo Tourism Associations reject Komodo Islands ticket at $3.75 million. At least 13 tourism associations in Labuan Bajo, East Nusa Tenggara, objected to the government's plans to increase the ticket price. The entry fee currently is $50,000 to $150,000 per person. Wow, that is an enormous jump. The deputy chairman of the Indonesian Travel Agent Association, Astindo, of NTT branch, Robert Waka, said that the objection has been submitted to the head of the NTT tourism agency, Sony Libing, and they hope that the government will reconsider the price surge. According to Pak Robert, if the problem is about limiting tourist visits in a bid to preserve the environment, he said the area of Komodo that is used as a tourist area is relatively small. He said it's only 1.3% of the total area of the island of 1,300 hectares. Additionally, he said, about 60 to 70 Komodo dragons live in that tourist section, and the majority of the Komodos live in the core of the island. Pak Robert added that the government imposed different conservation policies on similar tourist attractions. On Rincha Island, which is also the habitat of Komodo dragons, the government did not enforce the same policies as applied to Komodo. So he said it's not fair. Well, it doesn't sound fair, does it? And then the final one that just came out, and Pak Sandiago Uno said, that's the price. The price has been set. He said this Monday. The price has been set. It's $3.75 million. So who knows what's going on? Is it set? Isn't it set? Boy, it's a lot of confusion. Unusual in Indonesian politics? Not at all. But August 1st is coming up. It's pretty close. Now, if I was going to take, let's say, my family, which is huge, if I was going to take them there at $3.75 million, and let's see, I got 10, so what is that? That's 37.5, right? Wow, 37,500,000 to go to Komodo. Now, I would not go. I'd cancel. Because, well, I can buy a brand new motorcycle for that much money. So, and my kids can see the Komodo dragon on TV. So, I hope this is all cleared up really, really quick. Cepat, cepat. But in Indonesia, things are usually santai, santai, pelan, pelan. Okay, we'll just have to wait and see. Okay, getting close to the end. Let's end up with some good news. And some interesting news. Singapore overtakes Australia as the most visitor to Bali. Wow, okay, that's surprising. From the international route with the most passengers in the first half of 2022, Singapore with 294,324 passengers, according to the general manager of Ngurah Rai Airport. And what about Australians? Australians, 231,345. So Singaporeans have been flocking to Bali, and nobody has been reporting on that up until now. Interesting. I wonder where they're staying. And who's in third place? Another one of our neighbors, Malaysia. Malaysia's third place, 66,908 foreign tourists. And the total number of passengers from overseas routes to and from Bali for the first semester was 365,178. Okay, Australians, you want to be number one? You got to send some more people over. Okay, good news that we're getting lots of people, and that we're getting people from our neighboring countries too. It's always nice to have neighbors visit. A little more good news to end what I consider to be a kind of a down day for me, mask wearing and numbers up. What? Tourism awakens. 85% of bartenders in Bali are back to work. Wow, bartenders, okay, one of my favorite groups of people. The conditions of Bali's tourism, which is gradually improving, has made foreign workers start to return to their profession, and one are bartenders. One is bartenders. According to Wayan Bayu Hendra, he's the general chair of the Indonesian Bartenders Association, HBI. He said that 85% of HBI members, especially in Bali, have returned to work. Not all full-time, but they're back working. The total number of HBI members in Bali is 270, with 170 active members and 100 non-active. Bayu said that most of his bartender colleagues have reported that in the past 3 months they significantly have returned to being active in their respective outlets. He said during the pandemic, when the hotels and bars and restaurants were closed, people were doing things like offering up coffee shops and starting other businesses on their own so that they continue to work. In general, Pakbayu said he was very, very happy with the situation because this is a breath of fresh air for tourism that has returned, and although it's still not optimal, he said, he considers it to be an encouragement for bartenders who have high hopes for the recovery and more tourists. He said, this is not only for Bali, HBI Temeka, Papua. I used to live in Temeka, Papua. I didn't know there was a bartender association there. Manado, Jakarta, Surabaya, and other regions have also started to be optimistic about their future. He continued, I really hope that after the G20, the situation and conditions can be made more stable and turn around. The economic wheel in Bali in particular is getting maximum. Okay, so some good news there. And that is it for today. If you found this video helpful, useful, informative, scintillating, humorous, non-irritating, I would appreciate a thumbs up. That helps the YouTube algorithm, gets the video spread. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. Thanks for viewing. Be kind to someone today. Stay safe. And I will see you on Friday.